I'm Dr. Joe Esposito, and welcome to our podcast, For the Health of It, Episode 6. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast, and you'll never miss an episode on how to naturally get well and stay well.
The information presented on this program is not intended to take the place of your personal physician's advice, and it is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Discuss this information with your own physician or healthcare provider to determine what is right for you.
Are you suffering needlessly? Dr. Joe can give you advice on how to naturally get well and stay well. Dr. Joe Esposito.
Hey folks, Dr. Joe here. Thanks for being with me. Today we're talking about allergies and some really surprising new research that's out as to why you may be so sensitive to certain things like pollen and food and alcohol and perfumes, and what you can do to help keep your body healthy. And right now we're on a tangent of the bacteria in your colon affecting your immune system, and that's called the microbiome. That's the bacteria, viruses, germs, fungus that live in your colon, some good, some bad. But if you have a good balance, you'll stay healthy. If you don't have a good balance is when you get sick. And so we talked about things like antibiotics that could be killing off the good bacteria, not just medicinal antibiotics, which sometimes are absolutely necessary, but food antibiotics. A lot of times animals are fed or given antibiotics to prevent infection, which is farming practice, but now those antibiotics build up into food and you could be eating them. So environmental factors that can affect your microbiome. We talked about the antibiotics. How about antibacterial soap? A lot of people use antibacterial soap. Not a fan. Because yes, it does kill, cooties on your hands, viruses, germs, bacteria. But many antibacterial soaps contain something called triclosan. And triclosan, or especially the gels, those hand sanitizing gels, and triclosan can affect your hormone levels, especially in children. And it drives me insane when I see little kids with their backpacks with this little thing of triclosan hanging off the back, the hand sanitizer. If you want to make your own hand sanitizer, I think the recipe's on my website, drjoeesposito.com. It's under blog. It's under Dr. Joe's articles. And basically it's witch hazel, alcohol, and tea tree oil. And those are all antibiotic, antiviral, antifungal. They're astringents. They dry up the viruses, germs, and bacteria. And it works very well. But the Food and Drug Administration and the CDC says you just have to use soap and water to wash your hands. It's as effective without any of the negative side effects. So a lot of health people are all joining forces on this, saying don't use the antibacterial soaps. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. They can damage the cell membranes and disrupt the energy production in the cells. Now, if you have pain, and again, I think I'm one of the only chiropractors in Georgia that's board certified in pain management. So we're experts in pain management. But if you have pain, you want to get rid of that pain as quick as possible. So I'm not against taking medication. We have other doctors that we work with. We can get you injections into the spine, into the muscles. We can get you prescriptions if necessary. We're not going to give them out. Don't worry. But all the doctors I work with have the same philosophy. Let's find out why you're in pain. So if you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, headaches, muscle weakness, chances are it's a pinched nerve. And if we take medication to kill the pain, which again, I'm not against in emergency situations, it never treats the cause, it treats the symptoms. And this is why so many doctors refer their patients to my doctors, because they want to get to the cause of the patient's problem and not just write prescriptions all day or even over-the-counter stuff. So getting to the cause of the problem is going to be the key so that hopefully you won't need to take the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. Again, if you take them, I understand it, but let's fix it so you don't need them. Proton pump inhibitors, what are those? Those are drugs that reduce the production of stomach acid, and they're oftentimes prescribed in gastroesophageal reflux disease or heartburn or acid reflux. Now, what do? They're proton pump inhibitors. They inhibit your body from producing stomach acid. And so you have less stomach acid, you have less acid reflux. Brilliant. Except that you need stomach acid to break down proteins into amino acids. And amino acids get into your small intestine and get absorbed. So a couple of things happen if you're not breaking down your proteins properly. Number one, this big chunk of protein that should have been broken down gets into your small intestine, and it can tear little holes in your small intestine, and now you have a condition called leaky gut syndrome. 30 years ago, I was talking about leaky gut syndrome. Everybody thought I was crazy. Now, it's a real medical diagnosis. How about that? Dr. Joe was right. And these little tears in the colon, you can absorb these big chunks of protein, and the immune system starts attacking it, can create an allergic or a food-sensitive reaction. So you want the stomach acid. But if you don't suppress the stomach acid, the acid comes up into your esophagus and can cause things like esophageal cancer, chronic cough, chronic sinus condition. That acid can go all the way up to your sinuses, especially when you lay down at night. So we're in a catch-22. Elvis said we're caught in a trap, right? Can't walk out. Anyway, I'll tell you an Elvis story someday. You got to remind me of my Elvis story. So you're taking these proton pump inhibitors, and you're not able to absorb, you break down your proteins properly, and if you don't take them, the acid comes into your throat. And the proton pump inhibitors can prevent you from properly absorbing calcium, B12, iron, and magnesium. Man, Dr. Joe, what am I going to do? Well, many times the stomach is pushed up against the diaphragm, and the way to fix it is manually massage or pull the stomach down away from the diaphragm. And on my website, drjoeesposito.com, go under articles, I think it's blogs and then articles, and read the article. It's about the 6th or 7th one down. It's on gastroesophageal reflux disease, GERD. And it talks about the techniques that my doctors use to massage the stomach down away from the diaphragm. And the reason I know so much about this is I had this condition. And when I was young, I'd burp all the time. I'd get bloated. I had bad breath. I was real irritable all the time. I was ticklish. Now I realize those are all signs of the stomach pushing up against the diaphragm. Worse at night, wake up every morning with a runny nose, congested, the acid was coming up into my nose. Sore throat all the time. And when I finally realized how to fix it, I taught my doctors to massage my stomach down away from my diaphragm. And when we do that, we physically move the stomach. The sphincter, the little hole in the diaphragm, closes, and you don't get the acid reflux. And we see countless patients every day with this condition. And the results are usually pretty amazing. And then hopefully, again, I'm not telling you to stop taking your drugs. What I am saying, if we can fix it, hopefully you won't need the drugs. And most doctors love that. They don't want their patients on medication. I don't know any doctor that wants their patient on medication. And that's why we refer back and forth to so many different professions. Chiropractors refer to us, neurologists, neurosurgeons, vascular surgeons, general practitioners, MDs, acupuncturists, massage therapists, holistic practitioners. And we refer back when necessary. So it's nice that we have these working relationships that we didn't have 20, 30 years ago. Pollution can affect the bacteria in your colon. Stress. How many people are under stress? Raise your hands. A lot of you. And when you're under stress, your adrenal glands produce something called cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone. Short term, you need cortisol. It's excellent. When it's chronic stress and your adrenal glands are constantly pumping out this cortisol, it can stress the adrenal glands and essentially, metaphorically speaking, burn out your adrenal glands. And this is why so many people take Dr. Joe's adrenal supplements, optimal adrenal supplements. I take it every day. Because as you get older, we're under stress, physical, mental, emotional, chemical. And so the adrenal supplements really help tremendously to keep those adrenal glands healthy. It's not a stimulant. It's the raw materials and the herbs that the adrenal glands use to heal themselves. It's like fertilizer, if you would, for the adrenal glands. And it works great. And those are on my website, too, along with the Super Greens, the essential source. Remember, most people should be taking that. And that's on my website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, or we have an Amazon page. If you come to our offices in the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge, you can pick up the supplements, save the shipping costs. I'd love to save you money. I don't have any desire to pay the post office if I don't have to. You can just come pick them up. And then we get to say hi, too. I'd like to meet you as well. And if you want to make an appointment, you can do that as well to come see us. So we're talking today about the bacteria in your colon and how it affects the immune system, which affects allergies. BBC news report recently, lack of exposure to outdoors can in and of itself cause your microbiome to become deficient. If you don't get outside enough, you ain't going to be healthy. They tracked the whereabouts of two families for 24 hours. Researchers found the families that spent an average of 91% of their time indoors had different microbiome bacteria than people that were outdoors. This trend may be, in fact, one of the driving factors behind the rising allergy statistics in the modern world. And in short, according to the BBC, we're underexposed to beneficial bacteria that human beings used to get from the earth itself. There's even something called grounding. Now, this is a little airy-fairy. I'm going to give you that. But a lot of things that we talked about airy-fairy 30 years ago are now being taught in medical and chiropractic schools. Go outside barefoot. And just by walking barefoot, you're grounding yourself. There's an exchange of ions and electrical charges when you walk barefoot on the beach, in grass. Now, don't walk on grass that's been fertilized with toxic chemicals. But walking barefoot is a really good idea, especially outside. It's called grounding. But just getting outside. If you don't have a garden, start one. And if you don't have space, maybe you can just get a little pot or something and put it outside, get some organic soil, and just start growing something like tomatoes or basil or parsley or celery or scallions. And just working in the dirt, you're exposing yourself to very good positive bacteria, which is very good for you. If you don't like gardening or you don't like getting out and getting dirty, just like I said, have some pots out there. And that works pretty well. I don't like weeding. So what do? You can call up any of the companies that have tree services. They chop up trees and they chop them up into wood chips. They will deliver wood chips to you for free. Now, you got to be careful because sometimes they mix them up with junk. So you got to tell them, I just want a clean batch, hardwoods preferably. Because if you do pine, the pine can make the soil too acidic. And just put a layer of 6 inch, 8 inches of wood chips, over your garden. It's going to lock in moisture. It's going to prevent weeds from growing. And as the woods decompose, you make compost. How cool is that? And then grow your plants, start them out in a pot somewhere. When they get big enough, move away some of the wood chips, dig a hole in the dirt, plant it, put the wood chips back on. You don't have to water as much and you don't have to weed as much. And then you get your fresh foods there. Pretty cool stuff, right? So you can start to think about that as well. If you want to have your own garden and you get to recycle all those wood chips, and they give them to you for free because they have to pay to give them away, to dump them. So if they give them away, they get it for free. So that's just something you might want to consider as well. I love the wood chips. And if you have a lot of space all around your house, it doesn't have to just be a garden. You can put layers and layers of wood chips down. I have a stream in my backyard and I put them all along the bank of the stream. And it's great because you don't have to weed. And it looks pretty. So anyway, just a fun fact for you. But getting outside, according to this study from the BBC, is pretty cool. It's going to help tremendously with getting your body healthy. Another thing that can affect the microbiome or the good bacteria in your colon is drinking alcohol. Now, this is a big thing I want you to consider because a lot of folks drink alcohol. And in fact, a couple weeks ago, I did a show on alcohol and alcohol toxicity, and it was just amazing. The response was so amazing. I actually did a follow-up show to it because so many people drink alcohol. How many of you drink alcohol? Raise your hands. A lot of you. I know you do because you come into my offices and you tell me, well, Dr. Joe, I have people write down what they eat, and they tell me that they're drinking alcohol. So I'm not saying don't drink alcohol. I'm not here to lecture you on that. I am here to tell you what happens. And in fact, I call it one of the 7 deadly sins. If you ever listened to my 7 deadly sins lecture, that's on my website, drjoeesposito.com. Go to my YouTube channel. Subscribe to my YouTube channel too, by the way, folks. Send out a lot of good information. 7 deadly sins is one of my more popular videos that we do. And it talks about alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. And I know you're thinking, but Dr. Joe, that's my whole diet. I know it's your whole diet, but alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener are the 7 deadly sins, and alcohol being one of them for many reasons. But as far as allergic reactions go, which is what we're talking about today, scientists in Spain, they report a link between moderate, not excessive, moderate alcohol consumption and the antibodies found in high levels in people prone to developing allergies. The antibodies, known as IgE antibodies, cause allergic symptoms by overreacting to generally harmless substances such as pollen, mold, and animal dander. So if you drink alcohol, you produce more of this IgE, the antibody, and that creates a overreaction or hypersensitivity. Patients allergic to dust mites, regular alcohol intake was associated with increased blood levels of specific IgE against these mites. The findings are more likely to offer clues on how the immune system functions with regard to allergies than to provide new strategies for allergy treatment. Well, you're not going to, create a vaccine with alcohol in it. You just need to stop drinking the alcohol. So even if you drink moderate alcohol, you're likely to develop an allergic reaction to something. A little bit of alcohol, a little bit of brain damage. A lot of alcohol, a lot of brain damage. Dries out your body. It's loaded with chemicals and sulfites. And in fact, they did a study on all the California wines recently, and they didn't find one of them that didn't have glyphosate in it. Glyphosate is a weed killer, which destroys, if you listened to the show earlier, destroys the good bacteria in your colon. So another reason, and if you listen to my the 7 Deadly Sins of Nutrition lecture, that's on my YouTube channel through my website, you can get there. We talk about alcohol as being one of them. We talk about it a lot. And I cover that in my book, Prescription for Extreme Health. We have a chapter on alcohol as well, so you might want to get that as well. And by the way, folks, if you hadn't read my books, you need to. They're really good. First one tells you how to change your diet, eating right for the health of it. And the second one is Prescription for Extreme Health. It's just really a great guide to get well and stay well. So if you want to read it, if you want to share it with someone, really a great, simple guide, really easy to read. I wrote it in little clips, so people with ADD can follow along. And it's so simple and so easy to understand, and it's huge. The response has just been overwhelming for folks who have read it. They just love it. And those, along with Super Greens and Essential Source and adrenal supplements and probiotics and all the other supplements, are on my website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, #1 Dr. Joe in the world. Another thing I got to cover, we still got about 10 minutes here, we're talking about yeast infections and how yeast can be the missing link when it comes to your allergies. Now, what the heck is yeast? There's something called Candida, and it grows in your colon, and it's part of the microbiome. Microbiome is that whole environment in your colon of bacteria, viruses, germs, and yeast is part of it. And a normal colon, a healthy colon, has yeast in it. Everyone has yeast in it. The problem is when the yeast start to become overgrown. And when the yeast start to overgrow, they become a problem. Now, why would the yeast overgrow? We're talking about balancing that microbiome in your colon. And what happens is, if you do antibiotics, either medicinally, or if you do it commercially from meats and dairy products over time, small doses of antibiotics, if you swim in a chlorinated swimming pool all the time, if you take chlorine showers, if you take a chlorine shower with just tap water, it's like a hot shower, regular normal shower. It's like drinking 8 glasses of water. The same amount of chlorine gets absorbed through your skin as drinking 8 glasses of water. So it's a concern of mine. And that's why I like to get a filter we have them on my website, drjoeesposito.com. We have some water filters that you can put in your house, at least for your kitchen sink. So you have this balance of yeast and bacteria, and everybody's happy and having a party. And then you start killing off the bacteria. Well, the yeast now don't have competition anymore. And so they start to multiply. They make little yeast babies. And the little yeast babies make more little yeast babies. And then the yeast starts to overgrow in your colon. And then what the yeast does, simply put, is it gets bored. And it wants to go on vacation. So it goes on vacation and burrows holes into your colon. And when it burrows holes into your colon, it gets into your blood, and now it sets up a systemic yeast infection. It sets up shop throughout your body, usually in warm spots like your mouth, your crotch, the women, the vagina, the rectum, under the armpits. And you get these rashes, athlete's foot, jock itch. These are all usually signs of yeast infection. And you can tell you have a yeast infection, just get a glass of clear water, clear glass of water. And tomorrow morning when you wake up, get a big mouthful of spit, scrape your tongue and everything with your teeth, and then spit in the glass. Within an hour or less, if you start to see strings come down like a jellyfish, that's usually a sign of systemic yeast infection. And then you need to call us, and we'll get you on a whole protocol. Talk a little bit about it now. I don't have time to cover everything. And you go to my office, go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, and contact us. We can talk about getting on a yeast protocol. Now, folks, if you want to make an appointment to come see us, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. We would love to be your doctors. Go to my website, drjoeesposito.com. You can book it online. Call us. We accept people with all insurances, no insurances, car accidents. If you've ever been in a car accident, if the car was damaged, you were damaged 100% of the time. My main concern is get you well. We'll help you with the insurance. We'll help you with the legal stuff the best we can. We're not lawyers, of course, but we'll do everything we can. We're pretty well versed in this stuff. Even if we're out of your insurance network, come in and talk to us, because many times you have out-of-network benefits that are better than your in-network benefits. I know it makes no sense. But if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you want to get well, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, digestive issues, nutrition, drjoeesposito.com, and just Google Dr. Joe. So regarding the yeast, we've got to cover this. There's a couple of things you need to do in order to maintain good balance of bacteria and yeast. Number one is you got to cut out the sugars. And that's breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas. You got to cut them out of your life. Milk is loaded with sugar. Milk also causes a lot of mucus. You drink milk and orange juice too, because it's high in what? Sugar. Can cause a lot of mucus problems. All wheat products. Read your labels carefully. Many times wheat is hidden in products, and you don't know it, so look for that. Processed and packaged foods, food dyes, food chemicals, corn. Talked about corn earlier. Eggs, chocolate. And even vinegars And fermented foods. I know that there are certain fermented foods that give me a headache, and I just can't eat them. So if I do alcohol, of course, will give me a headache. So I was at a Thai restaurant and I said, no fish sauce, right? No fish sauce. Well, it tasted a little fishy and I ate a little bit of it and I stopped eating it. Sure enough, got a headache. And those fermented foods many times have monosodium glutamate or just a fermentation process that gives me a headache. So start to notice if you have reactions and how you feel. So what can you eat? Well, lots of what? Dr. Joe's suggestions: fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, Dr. Joe's Probiotics. Adrenal supplements to help inflammation. The adrenal glands control inflammation. And eating more raw foods, because you got to get the enzymes in your body. The enzymes break down food. They reassemble food. They fight infection. They fight inflammation. And the enzymes, the problem with yeast is this. When your immune system and enzymes kind of look at them, they have a biofilm on them. They're in disguise. And so your immune system will float over it and look at it and go, that's fine, it's nothing to worry about, and you're really in disguise. But if you start taking a lot of enzymes, a lot of raw food, the enzymes can start attacking and breaking down that biofilm and attacking the yeast. Now, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not like I take an aspirin, my headache goes away. This is something that you have to make part of a lifestyle. And you can do it. It's not hard, it's easy, because the lifestyle that we're talking about benefits every aspect of your life. This isn't just for allergies and yeast, but do it if you have allergies and yeast and watch what happens. And you'll be amazed and you'll say, Dr. Joe is right. That makes sense. Those 3 words I love a woman to whisper in my ear. That makes sense. Because it does make sense. Try it and see. Give me 60 days. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So what? You spent a couple of bucks on some supplements. You ate well for 60 days. By the way, you'll probably save so much money on your food bill, because you're eating good foods, which are way cheaper than bad foods, that you'll be able to afford all the supplements and more supplements for you, your friends, and your family. You'll be amazed how much money you save if you have a normally functioning nervous system, a normally functioning digestive system, and good nutrition. And that's the healthcare plan I put together for you. That's why in our offices, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge in the Atlanta area. We work on the nervous system as chiropractors. We work on a stomach. If you have acid reflux or heartburn, we may be able to massage or adjust the stomach. We work on your diet plan. If we need supplements, which I believe most people do, I get you on supplements. So it's pretty easy stuff if you know what you're doing. And I'm here to teach you what you're doing. So you want to kill off that yeast. Look for environmental triggers that may set off your allergies. I can't do perfumes. I hate perfumes. And even though I'm healthy, I still have a reaction to perfumes. Now, maybe it's my body's innate ability to say perfumes have phthalates, which are endocrine disrupting hormones, and you need to avoid them. I remember several years ago, I got a date with this gal, and she was stunning. I just thought, oh, this is it, I'm done. And we met, and we met at actually a party. We exchanged phone numbers. I called her up. She said she'd go out with me. I was so excited. I picked her up, and she stunk like perfume. And about 20 minutes into it, I said, I'm sorry, I can't breathe. I said, maybe we can do this again, but I'm really sorry. The perfume is just too much for me. I mean, what a horrible thing to say to somebody on a date, first date, who I was excited to meet. And she did go out with me about 2 more times, and I realized she was just not the gal for me. But the perfume was just overwhelming. And with patients, too, folks, if you come in our offices, please don't wear perfumes and colognes, because I don't like it. Other patients don't like it. And when I touch you, I get it on my hands, and my doctors get it on their hands, and it's hard to wash that stuff off. I don't know what it's made with. Kryptonite or something. I don't know. It just doesn't wash off. So I really want you to consider cutting out perfumes, hairsprays, scented deodorants, because these house scents that you put out there, because these things are chemically dangerous to the body. If you want to wear something nice, I in fact had a patient come in the other day, and she had on some essential oils. And I don't remember which one it was, but it was very nice. And I said, she goes, it's a natural essential oil. Only use a drop if you get the good kind of. Please, they're very, very, very powerful. Go very slow with them. But you can use them to freshen your house, your car, your body. That's a much better choice than what most people are doing. And as far as treatment goes, we like to look at the probiotics. We talked about that. The probiotics build up good bacteria in your colon. They're found in Super Greens and Essential Source, probiotics and prebiotics. We have one that's specifically just a probiotic, and that's one of our most popular ones because people need to get their immune systems strong again. Garlic is very good. if you're having a virus, germ, bacterial reaction. I have something called Dr. Joe's Seasonal Booster, and it's real popular in the winter because it's ginger, horseradish, cayenne pepper, onion, and garlic, and that works great too. Folks, got to run. If you want to make an appointment to come see us, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, number one Dr. Joe in the world. Sign up for my newsletter on my website. We accept people with all insurances, no insurances. I've never seen a car accident where the car was damaged where the occupants weren't. So if you're ever in a car accident, you need to come see us because we want to naturally get you well and keep you well. Again, the website, folks, drjoeesposito.com or amazon.com for the supplements. Thanks for listening. Tell your friends about the show. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening to For the Health of It. Remember to subscribe to this podcast, and I'll help you naturally get well and stay well. You can also listen to and call into my radio show live Sunday evenings from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on WSBRadio.com and on the WSB Radio app.